Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new, thank you for watching. If you're an OG, thank you for sticking and stay with me. Do not forget to hit the like, subscribe, and share button. Today we're going to be talking about the whole study abroad journey or the whole study abroad process. I got a lot of questions after I shared my experience on how to start, where to begin, how to go about it. So I decided to record a video to answer most of the questions. And I hope that by the end of this video, somebody out there might be inspired to begin their study abroad journey. So let's get right into business. Just like setting a goal or an objective, you need a plan. And so as this whole study abroad journey, you need to have a plan. And by having a plan, I mean you need to first of all decide which country you want to study. Yes, the country you want to study determines a whole lot of things. It determines the documents you need to submit, what is required of you before you begin your whole process. You can choose to study in the US, Canada, or any of these European countries, but I'm specifically going to talk about the US because that is where I have had my first-hand experience. Now, if you're choosing to study in the US, after deciding on the country, obviously to study in the US, the next thing you need to do is to decide the program of study. Program of study because some of the programs that we have in our home countries, let me talk about Ghana because that's where I had my entire education. For Ghana, what we call certain programs differs from what the US schools call their programs. Some of them are the same, but then sometimes there are differences in the names. After deciding on which program, then you decide on the school you want to study. Now, with the schools, personally, I think you should come up with a list of 10 schools. Yes, 10 good schools. Calm down. I know application fee is crazy, but you're not going to apply to all of these 10 schools. Now, when you decide on 10 schools, you're giving yourself a wide range and ample time to research and deduce a list of schools that you think fit your interest and what you want to study. Now, in these 10 schools, you are also going to reach out to the graduate coordinators or graduate chair, which is very, very essential to introduce yourself and ask questions. International students, most of the questions that we ask are funding questions, yes. So that's an avenue for you to ask questions about the program, introduce yourself, let them know your area of research interest. If there's any professor that you've seen on your school's website that you think works best or fits your research interest, you should let them know, and that gives you an upper hand over somebody who's just going to turn in the applications and keep their fingers crossed that they're going to be admitted into the program. Now, after you've done all of this, I personally am going to tell you the honest truth. It's not everybody that's going to get back to you or give you like a positive feedback or an immediate response. Usually because sometimes like the difference in academic schedule, it might be summer break, it might be winter break, it might be a break or something, and these graduate chairs have a very busy schedule, so do not anticipate 100% response. The next thing you need to do is to scale it down to a number of schools, and you can write down the documentations that are required for each school. Now, some schools might require a statement of purpose, others might require letter of intent, some might require resume or CV, but most schools do require a recommendation letter. This is a very, very, very big deal and is very essential for school application, and is also like an issue getting recommendation letters. My personal experience, when I was doing my whole study abroad journey, when I was embarking on this process, I emailed all my professors and like my employers that I wanted to use as my referees. I emailed them ahead of time to let them know I was beginning this process and I want them to submit a recommendation letter on my behalf. Now, I spread it across because I didn't know who was going to say yes and who was going to say no. In that email, I attached a draft, which I had typed out like a draft of a recommendation letter, and I attached it saying that I know they have a busy schedule, so I'm attaching this where they could just make edits. If the school is giving them the opportunity to upload the whole document, they can just make some additions and subtractions over here and upload it. Or if the school is requiring that they fill some like forms, at least they have something they could look at to kind of support or help them in filling out that form. So that's my personal suggestion, because that alone can drag your whole study abroad process, and it can even make you miss out on application deadlines. See, the next thing you need to do is to work on your statement of purpose, letter of intent, writing sample. Now, these things you need to be very careful because some schools have certain requirements. Other schools require a specific number of words, other schools to require like a number of pages. So you need to ensure that you are following the instructions that are on the school's website. Some schools may or may not ask for a writing sample, but if you know you're applying for a program like communication studies, advertising, marketing, public relations, you should add a writing sample because that is what you're going to do in that field. So adding a writing sample gives you an upper hand over somebody who doesn't. That goes to say that whatever documents that you have that you think will add up to your application process, please go ahead and add it. Do not add irrelevant documents. Like I said, if you're applying to certain programs and they didn't ask for a writing sample but you have one, go ahead and do what? Add it to the process. Now, the next thing after this is to begin the application process. You need to make sure you are going step by step on the school's website to go through the whole application process. Fill out all the necessary documents. Wait, even before the application process, please, I think I missed one thing before like talking a lot. The first thing you need to do is to have a passport. If you want to study abroad, talking about the US, please make sure you have a passport in your hand because the schools are going to ask for your passport number. So please make sure you have a passport before you begin this whole process. So back to the whole application process. Once you start, make sure you go step by step to follow all the instructions that are indicated on the school's website. Upload every document as and when needed. Add other relevant documents that are going to be helpful, and then go ahead and do it. Pay your application fee. Now, some schools offer application fee waivers. You can email the graduate chair of your program to find out if there's an application fee waiver. You could also email the international office. Some of the schools also organize like Google Meets or Zoom meetings for potential international students, or like events, virtual fairs, for which they give out application fee waivers. So if you see a school that you want to apply to and you see that they're having one of these virtual fairs, you could hop on it. You may never know, you might get an application fee waiver, and that might save you a whole lot of money. After applying, the next thing is to keep your fingers crossed. But before that, you go ahead and email the graduate chair again for the schools you have applied to let them know that you have submitted your application and you look forward to becoming a part of the incoming cohort. Just to go through the whole process again, the first thing you need to do is to decide on the country you want to study. You can choose to study in the US, Canada, or the UK. Now, the next thing you need to do is to decide the program of study. With program of study, one thing I forgot to mention is you can decide to study something in line with what you are doing, or you can decide to study something contrary to what you previously studied or what you are currently doing. It all depends on how best you can tell your story or sell yourself when you go to the visa interview. Because if you have a background in communication studies and you are coming to study economics, you have to explain to the visa officer, if you are asked why you are switching programs, and if they should ask you an ideal question like, what is the correlation between what you study, what you are doing, and what you are going to study, you should have a response. So these are some of the questions you should be thinking about if you are deciding on the program you want to study. Now, after the program of choice, you list a number of schools, which I recommend 10 schools. After that, you reach out to your graduate chair, ask questions, introduce yourself. Then you scale it down to a number of schools that fit your interest. After scaling it down, the next thing is to outline or write down the documents that are needed by each of these schools to submit your application. Make sure that you reach out to your referees with a draft of a recommendation letter to let them know you are embarking on this process and you want them to submit a recommendation letter on your behalf. Then you can go ahead and start your whole application process, upload all documents, go ahead and pay your application fee. If you have an application fee waiver, go ahead and make use of it. And also reach out to your graduate chair and let them know that you have submitted your application and you look forward to being a part of the incoming cohort. I believe that if you, yes, you, go by all these steps that I've outlined, you are on your way to becoming an incoming international student in the upcoming academic year. So thank you for sticking and staying with me. Do not forget to hit the like, share, and subscribe button. And if you have any questions, please drop them in the comment section and I'll do my best to respond to these questions as well. So I will see you in our next YouTube video.
But I'll be on it always.